Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews. This is the first video I'm putting out since the new year, and I hope that so far 2020 has been treating you amazingly. I apologize for there not being very many videos over the last couple weeks. Me and my family got really sick, and so I have not been able to shoot anything. My palate was a wreck, and so today I wanted to bring you a special video to start off the year. I've never done one of these before, so this is my first kind of venture into one of these. The channel's been up for a couple years, but I never really felt like I had the breadth of whiskeys that I really wanted to give you one of these videos. But this year I feel like I got a lot of good ones in, and this coming year it's going to be even better because I now have these no time like the present reviews where I get to pick what bottles I want to open up, so that way I can make sure I'm opening up the latest and greatest for you guys during the course of this year. But I wanted to bring you some of my favorite whiskeys for 2019. Now, this isn't going to be the best whiskey of the year video. I don't really like doing that. And I really didn't want to bring you on this list whiskeys that are really incredibly difficult to get or are incredibly cost prohibitive for the most part. I really wanted to focus on whiskeys that were available, that you could possibly get your hands on, and that I really enjoyed this year. So I do have a few runners up that I'll mention, like the William LaRue Weller I had this year was fantastic. Another one was the Foregate, their batch one release. I think it was called the Kelvin Project or something like that. It was also fantastic. But both those whiskeys are incredibly difficult to get and pretty expensive. So I really didn't want to put them on this list. So, like I said, this list is whiskeys that are somewhat readily available, that you can get your hands on, most of which you can still get your hands on, and that I think if you get the opportunity, you should pick up or at least give a try because they are absolutely fantastic. So let's not waste any more time and let's get to these whiskeys. All right, so let's start with one of my favorite whiskeys out there. One of the whiskeys I think this is going to get my probably value of the year award, because this whiskey is inexpensive. They're readily available. They are absolutely delicious. And if you look at the statistics on the whiskey, the things that make whiskey valuable, age, big distillery, proof, the things that make whiskey cost more, this one just meets all of those marks. So one of my favorite whiskeys of the year is the Knob Creek small or single barrel store picks. These are readily available at so many stores around you. They've been pumping out these picks like crazy this year, and this year all these picks for the most part were in the 12 to 15 year old range. This particular one is 15 years old. I paid $49.99 for it. It is a fantastic pour. I bought a bunch of these this year and stocked up on them because they're just such a great value, such a great whiskey. I really don't know where you could find more flavor, more age, more proof. Don't get me wrong, you can get more than 120 proof. This is not a barrel proof bottling. It's very close, but it's not there. But it's just such a fantastic value and such a great whiskey. You could put this up against any of the great whiskeys out there and you would not be disappointed. So for me, Knob Creek single barrel store picks are up there. Definitely don't ever hesitate to pick one of these up. All right, so another fantastic release for me this year. This one's going to be a little bit polarizing because not everybody loves this whiskey, but I think you can get barrels of this whiskey that are fantastic and a really good value. So one of my favorites this year is the Smooth Ambler Old Scout Single Barrel Select. Now, these vary from what you've had in the past. The Single Barrel Select, if you see this red labeling on it, means that it is from George Dickel Distilling. So this is Dickel Juice. Now, that brings me to the part, I have a little bit of a problem with this whiskey because before this was MGP, and this is such a different profile from MGP. So if you see this red labeling on this, this is not the MGP juice, and I like the MGP juice better than I like this. However, this particular bottling, like mine, is 55.6% ABV, and it is delicious. It is fantastic. It is a far cry from almost any Dickel juice you've had out there. There's been some really good Dickel releases that have been sourced by people that are doing independent bottlings, like bourbon, barrel bourbon. They sourced some Dickel barrels that were fantastic, and this one is no exception. So for the price point, you can get this for somewhere about $60. It is a fantastic whiskey. Now, I will give you the caveat with this whiskey that it is a little hit or miss. Not every barrel is the same. I did have another barrel of this that was sub 100 proof. It was under 50% ABV. It was like 48, 49, somewhere in that ballpark. And it did not live up to what this bottle is. So I will say, seek out the bottles that are over 100 proof. those ones I think you'll have a better bet at them being really, really good juice. And this one is one of those. So this one is kind of a 50-50 bottling. That is one of my favorites, but this particular bottle is fantastic. I've had others from Dickel that are fantastic. Don't be scared of the Dickel juice. It is delicious. All right, another one of my favorite pours from this year is even a little controversial for me because of the price point. However, the whiskey's fantastic. It is one of the best examples of this brand that I've tasted in a standard line bottling. So let's not waste any more time and get to the Knob Creek 12-year-old. I don't think this one's going to get the attention that it deserves. It is really, really a fantastic whiskey. The problem with it is the price. It is a little bit overpriced. So it doesn't quite live up to expectations there. But if we're just talking, put this whiskey in front of me, let me drink it, this is a fantastic pour. And it is the best of, is a quintessential example of the best that Knob Creek can put out there. It is really, really good stuff. Like I said, a little bit overpriced, especially when you consider the fact that I just showed you a 15-year-old, 120 proof Knob Creek single barrel store pick for $50. So that makes this a little bit problematic on price. But other than that, let's just talk about the taste of the whiskey. This stuff is fantastic. It is rich, it is robust, it is everything that Jim Beam, it is the best of Jim Beam in a bottle. So if you like the Jim Beam profile, you will not be disappointed with the Knob Creek 12-year. All right, another of my favorite whiskeys that I tried this year is one that I wasn't sure I was going to love. I didn't know how it was going to taste. I'd never had this whiskey before, and I was a little bit leery that it maybe wouldn't live up to the hype or the price or any of that stuff. So I'm really excited that it was fantastic, and that is the Michter's. It is a single barrel, but their barrel strength rye. Just a really, really delicious pour. Now, I wish the price, as always, was a little bit lower. I really feel like this thing should fall in around the $60 to maybe $65 price point. I believe this bottle typically goes for somewhere about $80. So it is a little expensive. However, it is a really delicious pour. They did a fantastic job with this. And I can't say that I've had a bunch of these, so I don't know. This is just my bottle, which is a single barrel, which means that these could, your mileage may vary depending on what you get. But I got to go based on what I tasted. And for me, this was just a fantastic, robust, spicy rye that just kind of delivered on all those points that I want. It wasn't overly spiced. It was nicely balanced. It had sweetness. It had herbal characters. It was nicely balanced across the board at a good proof. Like this was, I believe, at 112 proof. So just a fantastic bottling and another great release from Michter's. All right, let's get on to my final of my favorite releases from this year. This one is a limited release from a big distillery that I just really don't think gets the attention they deserve. They put out so much amazing whiskey and just don't get the recognition I think that they should, which is fine for me because it means there's more of this whiskey available for me. You can still find this whiskey on shelves. It is a bit expensive, however, it is delicious. So I bring to you Wild Turkey Cornerstone. This one isn't making many people's Whiskey of the Year releases, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's the price. It is a bit overpriced. This whiskey retails at MSRP for about $180, which is very expensive. Don't get me wrong. That is a very high price point. However, this whiskey is delicious. It nails all the points that you really want in a whiskey. It is rich, it's robust, it's flavorful, it's complex. And as a 9-year-old age-stated rye, it's just among the best whiskeys that I've tasted this year. They just did such a great job putting this together. I'm super happy with it. It is very delicious, and I totally look forward to finishing this bottle out. And on a finer note, this MSRP is right around $170, but they have been, and like I said, Wild Turkey isn't the most popular whiskey out there these days. This still sits on shelves, and I've been seeing price reductions on it down to about $140. So if you haven't had the opportunity to try it, maybe you're waiting for the price to come down a little bit, that's happening now. So if you have the opportunity, definitely go out, grab yourself a bottle, grab yourself a pour at a bar, and check it out. It is fantastic whiskey. You won't be disappointed. All right, so those were some of my favorite whiskeys from this year. This is not any kind of complete list. These are just some of the whiskeys that stood out to me that were available, that you can still get most of these whiskeys pretty easily. Maybe a couple of them, like depending on your area, like the Michter's you won't be able to get. But these are pretty widely available releases that were just really good, stood out to me. So hopefully you enjoyed the list. Let me know what you think of any of these whiskeys in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on any of this stuff. And as always, you can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at blind_reviews. You can also catch me on Instagram at Mission Bottle Kill, where I'm posting all kinds of pictures of people killing great bottles of whiskey. And if you want me to post your pic, just tag at Mission Bottle Kill in the post. You can also send me an email at blindwhiskeyreviews, that's whiskey with an E, @gmail.com. And until next time, cheers.